Lazy? Afraid? Unlucky? Want to make money doing what you love? Watch this. You wake up every morning already feeling tired. Not because you didn't sleep enough, but because you know you're about to spend another day doing something you don't really care about. You tell yourself you're just lazy, or maybe afraid to try something new, or maybe you're simply unlucky like everyone else says. You check your phone and see people making money doing things they love. Someone is drawing, someone is editing videos, someone is running an online store. And suddenly the thought appears, why can they do it, but I can't? So you convince yourself that they're just lucky. Maybe they had better parents, more money, or simply a different life. Because believing that feels easier than believing something might be wrong with your choices. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people who say they are lazy are actually overwhelmed. They're not avoiding work, they're avoiding uncertainty. Doing something you hate every day feels predictable. Starting something you love feels risky. And your brain would rather keep you safe than make you successful. Fear doesn't always feel like fear. Sometimes it feels like procrastination. Sometimes it feels like scrolling, cleaning, or waiting for the right moment. You say you want to start a YouTube channel. Or maybe a small online business. But instead of taking the first step, you spend weeks watching tutorials and planning the perfect start. Planning feels productive. Research feels responsible. But neither of them brings you closer to making money. Meanwhile, someone else started with no plan at all. They made mistakes. They looked stupid. But they started. And because they started early, they learned faster. They understood what works and what doesn't. While you were still thinking about the best time to begin. You're not lazy. You're trying to avoid failure before it happens. You're protecting your identity from embarrassment. Because once you try and fail, you can no longer say, I never really gave it a shot. So instead, you stay in your comfort zone. Scrolling. Watching others succeed. And slowly, the idea of doing what you love becomes painful. Because now it feels like something you missed. Something you were too late to start. But the truth is, most people don't fail because they are lazy. They fail because they never get clear on what to do first. At some point, you probably told yourself that you just need more time. You said that once things calm down at work, or once you save enough money, or once life becomes less stressful, then you will finally start doing what you actually enjoy. But weeks turn into months, and months quietly become years, and nothing really changes except your growing frustration. You still go to the same job every day, still feel the same exhaustion every evening, and still tell yourself that maybe next year will be different. You may have even tried starting something before. Maybe you opened a YouTube channel, created an Instagram page, or thought about freelancing online, but after a few weeks without results, it felt pointless. You didn't see any money coming in, you didn't see fast progress, and suddenly your brain told you that this whole idea of making money doing what you love might just be unrealistic. So you quietly stopped, telling yourself you'll try again later when you're more ready. The problem is that most people expect immediate validation. They expect their first attempt to somehow prove that this path will work for them, and when it doesn't, they take it as a sign to stop. But in reality, the first few weeks of trying something new almost always feel slow, confusing, and financially useless. And this is exactly the point where most people quit, not because they can't succeed, but because they expected success too soon. Think about someone who starts learning video editing after work every evening. For the first month, they feel slow and confused because everything takes too long and nothing looks professional. But after 3 months, they can edit simple projects, and after 6 months, they can already do paid work for someone online. The only difference between them and the person who gave up in week 2 is patience. The uncomfortable truth is that your current job trains you to think short-term. You get paid every month for showing up, not for improving your long-term skills. So when you try something new that doesn't pay immediately, your brain interprets it as a waste of time. And this makes you return to what feels financially safe, even if it slowly drains your energy. You begin to believe that doing what you love is only for other people. People who had better opportunities, more confidence, or fewer responsibilities than you. You assume they somehow had access to information or resources that you don't. And because of that belief, you slowly convince yourself that trying again would just lead to the same disappointment. But what you don't see is how many small failures happened behind their success. You don't see the projects that didn't work, the ideas that made no money, or the nights they spent doubting themselves. You only see the final version, the moment where everything started working. And that creates the illusion that success happened suddenly. Most people don't actually fail because they lack talent. They fail because they underestimate how long it takes to build skill that the market is willing to pay for. When you enjoy something, you assume it should quickly turn into income, but enjoyment and monetization are two completely different processes. Loving photography doesn't automatically make you a professional photographer, and loving music doesn't automatically make you profitable. There is always a bridge between passion and income, and most people quit before crossing it. The market does not pay for effort. It pays for value. And value is created when your skill solves someone else's problem. If you love drawing, the question isn't do I enjoy this, but who needs what I can create? Once you shift your focus from your passion to the problem you can solve, everything starts to look different. For example, someone who loves fitness may think they need to become a famous influencer to make money. But in reality, they could start by helping 3 people in their local area improve their health. They could document their progress, learn basic marketing, and slowly build trust instead of chasing viral fame. The internet often shows extreme success stories, but real income is usually built quietly, step by step. And that quiet consistency is something most people underestimate. Another mistake people make is trying to escape their current job immediately. They want to quit fast, change everything overnight, and prove to themselves that they are finally brave. But financial pressure kills creativity faster than fear ever could. If your rent depends on your new idea working instantly, your brain will panic instead of create. That's why the smartest transition is often slow and strategic, not dramatic. Think of your current job as fuel, not a prison. It may not excite you, but it gives you stability, resources, and time. Instead of seeing it as something that blocks your dream, see it as something that finances your experiment. When you remove the pressure to succeed immediately, you give yourself space to improve gradually. And that changes the emotional experience completely. You don't need 8 hours a day to build something meaningful. You need consistency. Even one focused hour every evening, repeated for a year, can completely change your skill level. Most people underestimate what 300 hours of focused effort can do. And most people overestimate what one motivated weekend can accomplish. There is also another hidden factor: comparison. When you compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10, you automatically feel behind. Social media shows the result, not the process. And when you constantly consume other people's success instead of building your own progress, your motivation slowly decreases. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is reduce what you consume and increase what you create. So if you feel lazy, it might not be laziness at all. It might be mental exhaustion from consuming too much and creating too little. It might be fear disguised as perfectionism. Or it might simply be a lack of a clear system to follow. And the good news is, systems can be built. If you truly want to make money doing what you love, stop asking how to escape your current life and start asking how to build alongside it. Pick one skill you genuinely enjoy and commit to improving it for 6 months without expecting fast results. Spend one focused hour a day learning, practicing, and most importantly, creating something real, even if it's imperfect. After 90 days, look for the smallest way that skill can solve someone's problem and charge for it, even if it's a small amount. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow, you need proof that your effort can turn into income, and that proof only comes from action. You are not lazy. You are not cursed. And you are not unlucky. You are simply standing at the beginning of a process that requires patience instead of emotion. If you stop waiting for motivation and start building small daily momentum, your life will not change overnight, but 1 year from now, you won't recognize the version of yourself that almost gave up today.